Perfect. All right. So it is top of the hour here. We will go ahead and get started. My name's Paul, part of the team here at Clean Claims. I'm partnered with my counterpart, Corey. We are going to dive into our scoping tool within our system today. Now, one thing I want to highlight is our scoping tool in here does have a little bit of multi-use to it. So depending on your organization, some people like to use our scoping tool as almost saying, great, here's what was done. We basically can turn the pricing on or off on this feature. So if you want to use it as almost putting together like, here's your kind of your orders to go out and do per room, being able to document what was done, to send then to an estimator, to attach to like an Xactimate invoice, that is a great way to use it. Or you can actually turn this on, use our custom price sheets in there, and actually be able to create invoices directly in here. Now, if you've spent any time in the industry and read any of the hot button topics, I am a believer in that this is a invoice, not an estimate. Invoices show the work that's been done, especially documenting on the back end. So that is where I like to call it our invoicing feature, to be able to come in, say exactly how much was done, and be able to generate that right there on site. Couple caveats I'll throw out there. With the pricing, we are not integrated with Xactimate pricing. So our pricing tool allows you to upload your own pricing sheet directly into Clean Claims. So I know that'll be a question that comes up. So no, we do not currently integrate with Xactimate pricing. We'd love to at some point in time, but that is not currently how it works. So it is something that you will have to put your own pricing in, but it is something that's great for if you're doing an out-of-pocket job, something that's not going through a specific carrier that does not require Xactimate pricing. This is a tool that you can definitely do in there. And if you are using Xactimate pricing, you just have to remember this is almost more of a time and materials type of deal. Xactimate line items do incorporate the material as well as labor costs into it. Ours is a flat item cost. So if you're going to to place a zipper in here, that is just the material. You still need to put the labor in with it. So happy to go into any more details. One thing we will say as well is if you do want to schedule some additional training with Corey and myself, we will make sure to put a link in the chat feature as well. We are more than happy to schedule some time with you and your team and go into more detail. All right. So let's kick this party off and get started here. So we are going to dive into Clean Claims. All right. So now that I have Clean Claims open, what we are going to do to start is we're going to start this on the admin side. So you do need to be a org admin to be able to access this. This is something if you do not have access to, talk to your system administrator and be able to get with your team to access. So to get in here, what you're going to do is go up to your admin, go to project configurations. This is where you see your settings, documents, and report templates. Today, we're going to go down here and click on scope. So this is where our scoping feature lives. Now, we are working on kind of revamping some things, so there will be a handful of questions in here. The way our scoping tool works is you basically want to build out whatever line items and that you want to use in the job right here in this admin page. When you're on the project, it's basically going to pull from whatever you have set up in here. So with this is where we have a couple different options. One, we do have about 10,000 different line items in here that are all categorized under different areas. So you can see we have hazardous material, glass, framing, fire protection systems, landscaping, all the way down. You can see here where a lot of the line items we're probably going to talk about are going to live under this water extraction and remediation, where you can see all the different line items that are in here. The good news is you can use any of our line items that are in the system, or you can create your own custom line items as well. I'll show you how to do that here in a minute, but just know in here, there's a couple different things you can do. If we are using this as just a scoping tool, then you don't need to worry about the pricing aspect. If you are using this for a invoicing tool, this is where you can come in. This top bubble right here, is where you can actually choose or create any specific cost sheets. So if you want to have a general cost saying, hey, it's $100 per DHU per day, you can put that in here, or you can create any kind of price sheet you want. An example, like I used to work for Orange County Public Schools. This is where I could come in and create a new cost sheet, call it OCPS, hit add, and then now we have a price sheet for Orange County Public Schools. Now, this allows you to where if you do have bid pricing, if you do, a certain square footage for drywall, normally when you bid on government buildings, you actually give those costs up front. This is where you can build these into the system. And then whenever you select a price sheet, it'll have those different costs involved. Now, if you are not using this for invoicing and just for scope, keep it on the general price sheet. That won't play a difference into any of this. And then you have the ability, depending on the different price sheet you're in, you can toggle between the two and actually change those pricing on any of these line items. You do also have the ability to use this search bar here. So if I want to type DHU, I can actually search. It'll show any DHU line items under these different categories. And I can actually come in here and find any of these DHU line items, which you can see here on this general cost sheet. I have just a general DHU is $100 or 125 with no monitoring. You can come in and just simply update the pricing. So we'll say this is 175. And then once that in, that is now saved to this cost sheet. So it does allow you to simply come in and put those items in. One tip I want to share with you guys is we do give you that ability to where if you click this add scope button right here, it pulls out this little side toggle. This is where you have a couple options to do things. If you want to create just one line item, I can simply come right here to the name, type out whatever name that might be. So we'll call this remote monitoring equipment. And then you will select your unit of measure. So this is going to be each linear foot, square foot, kind of be able to, whether it's a box, an hour, a pound, however you want to go through and set this up. So I'm going to call this a each and go ahead and hit add. Whenever you add in a custom scope item, they will live right here under the custom scope items right here. So you can see here's our remote monitoring. We can say this is, I don't know, we'll just call this $100 a day or each. And then that item has been now saved under this price sheet. The key when you're putting in the pricing is make sure you're on the right price sheet that you want to be. So if it's on the general, that's what we're in right now, and make sure to update as you go. One thing too, if you guys do have fixed price sheets or if you want to pull over Xactimate pricing, things of that nature, when you hit this add scope button, down here at the bottom, we do have a bulk upload template. If you hover over this right here, we have a Excel spreadsheet that has all the frames and figures built in. You just put the name, the unit of measure, the cost, and then you can even go in and add what macro you would like that to be. Once you put that in, it will upload into the system so that you can bulk upload pricing directly in. Some of the big keys with this, you want to make sure the columns stay in the same order, make sure that they are the exact same in the template, and then make sure that when you upload it, it's still saved as a XLS file, and then be able to put that information directly in. What I will do is I will actually show you what that looks like. I have one built out here. I'm going to upload that directly in. You can see I've got 20 line items in right here, and I'm going to simply save these items. Now you can see I added in some antimicrobial, negative air. I added all these items in. Now in this sheet, I did not put a price. If you do put a price, it will pull that pricing over with it. So this is a good way to put any information you need, upload it directly in, and now have access to these line items. Now, the biggest power in our system, and I will be fully transparent, if you are searching line by line on this, this is probably not the ideal way to do it. The real power, just like an Xactimate, is going to be our macros. This is where you can create, whether it's a mold, general conditions, PPE, if we want it to be water or equipment, creating any of these macros will definitely expedite being able to upload these line items inside of a project. So to create one, I can come in here. We'll just call this equipment. We'll say this is WTR equipment. So once I save that macro, I am now in our area where now I can add any of those line items directly in. Now, if it is custom items you added in yourself, they will all be living here under the custom items. So I can either go through and manually add any of these in. So once you see these checked, you'll notice it kind of pops right here on the side. So you can go through and do that, or I could even come up to the search bar and search for any kind of information I would like and be able to come in, select any of these items. So we'll just say this is a dehue. We want to add these in. Oh, bear with me 1 second as my internet glitches on me. Select my macro, equipment. And then I can come in and choose whichever line item. So we'll put a peel and stick zipper, framing the walls. Or we can come in, since this is an equipment one, we'll put our negative air machines, we'll put our HEPA filters, dehues, and we'll leave that for now. So once I've added these in, you'll see them all here on the side. You can always delete them here, and then I can always hit this view on the side as well to be able to find them. But once you add those items in, they're now in the system. So to exit that, I can just simply hit exit, and then I can select any other macros that I would like in here. You can create as many custom macros as you would like. We do have some system macros that are built for you that you have access to. It's completely up to you whether you want to use those or not, or build your own. You have that full control. Now, within this different price sheet, so since we are in our default price sheet here, this is where I can come in. If I want to select any of these macros as well, I can always come in. We'll say this equipment one here. This, in the macro section, you are picking which item you want to be in the macro. To edit the pricing of this, you need to come in to the general here or find that cost sheet that you're using, and then find those different line items and put that pricing in. Now, I will say if you are uploading your own pricing or your own line items in, they will all be in the custom scope items, so it is a little easier to find, or I can just simply search and find any of that information I need. So now that we have the items we want, let's say we have the pricing set up on this price sheet that we want. One thing I want to show you guys is in the settings. So in the settings, so this one we'll just do a residential water job. Down here under the project configuration, you'll see our documents tool. This is where if you want to require a scope to be done in our system, you can simply turn this on for the project scope. You can also do that in the room. So if you want to have those scope items in the room and want to make it required, you just simply toggle these on. And this is now a require field that has to be filled out before we can close a file. Now, if it's unchecked, I can still fill it out, but it's not going to prompt my crews to fall through and fill those out. Now, the big thing I want to show in here is these last two in the project section. You'll see this one right here, which says show scope pricing. So think, if I'm building a invoice, you will want this turned on. If I don't want to show the pricing, I'll want this turned off. So think of this as turn the pricing on versus turn the pricing off. And then we do also have the ability to where if you don't want to see any of our system macros and you only want the ones you created, you just simply click right here to only custom macros. So it'll only show the ones that you have created. Let's take a quick second and check. Okay, perfect. So Corey put our booking in there. Again, if you guys have any questions or anything, we will have a little bit of time here at the end to go through this. So, or answer any questions. So feel free to put those in the chat here as well. So now that we have this set up, and you can set this for whatever kind of project you're doing. So if you did want to do this for initial inspection with the scoping, you can turn this on. You have that full control within CleanClaims. So we're going to go ahead and
Hey,
jump.
Paul.
Yep, go for it.
Paul, before you move on, the big difference between projects and rooms, what would you say the big difference is between those two? I know you'll show us in here, but what's the difference in those when you're setting it up?
So the big difference is your project. So again, your project, think these aren't tied to any individual rooms versus your room ones are going to be tied under that room. Now, in our reports, you will see it all totaled out, but the projects think of almost like a general conditions in Xactimate. So that's where you're going to say, okay, in the project field, that's where maybe I'll have my dumpsters, I can have my PPE, I can have my asbestos testing, or if I need to bring any portable porta johns out to the job site, anything that you're not necessarily going to be tying directly to a room, you can put in there. Now, again, since you have full control in CleanClaims, if you want to write it for the whole job, you can do it directly in the projects. Or if you want to break it down more room by room, you can do it within the rooms as well. And I'll show you a couple of examples how, if you're using our scanning tool, how that can expedite it getting some of these values directly into CleanClaims within those different rooms as well. So diving in here, this is a project that we already have going. So we already have the room scan in here, so you can already see the dimensions in the scan are already in here. We have our before photos. We have some monitoring in here. We're going to come up here to the scoping item. And to Corey's point, this is where we have our scoping for the individual room versus up here at the top in projects, we have the ability to scope for the entire project. So again, you can see this is where I have our dumpster truck or our dump truck in here. We have a decontamination charge in here. You can choose where you would like each item to live. One key feature I will say that we have on the project side, and again, we are working on some feature updates here as well, is the ability to come in here and actually manage different scopes. So in the project field, we do have the ability to where if you want to do multiple scopes in a project, you can. Versus the rooms are basically going to be that one room. You can't do multiple scopes in there. There are some things we're working on. I can hear Weston thinking about it through the camera right now, but we are going to work on the ability to do multiple scopes or be able to copy these into other projects. So that is something that's on the docket and on our dev team. So if I did want to do just a scope for maybe the whole project or maybe a supplement or additional items, you can create multiple scopes within the project scope um, versus the room scope. So again, my view of this, and again, you can use this how you would like, is the project scope is any item that's not tied to a specific room or just something for kind of that umbrella of the project. So this is where I can put my dump trailer fees, I can put our equipment decontamination charges, and then to add any line items to this, this is where I can simply come in. If I want to add a individual line item, I can hit add scope. You'll see all of these different fields right here pull in. I can either scroll through, search for any items, or I can use the search bar up top and be able to come in here and say, we'll just say another dumpster. I can go into these different sections and find the one that I'm looking for. So if it's a bid fee or anything of that nature, we'll say we're going to add this one on as well. Once you click that, you'll notice right here, it added this in. This is highlighted red in the sense that it's been added, but we don't have the units of measure in there. I just simply click edit. You'll see here where it's saying this is per each. I can use the toggle here or simply type it in. Say one. I can even say additional debris removed. Hit save. And then now any of the notes or the units of measure have been added in. I'd also like to highlight this one right now has the pricing turned off. So this is being used as more of a scoping item to come in and say what we're going to need to use on this job. And I'll also show you what that looks like for the turning the pricing on. So right now we've gone through, we've added this in. You have the ability of adding individual scope items here, or I can come right up here if I want to add those macros. Macros, again, are a very powerful tool to be able to come in and say, okay, great, I want to add in, let's say we're going to add these PPE items in. Hit add scope. Simply come in, hit edit, put how many in here. So we'll just say we used 8 Tyvek suits. And then I can also come in and say 8 of these as well. Simply hit save, and now these items have been uploaded in. The macros definitely bring a lot of power because we all know if it's a mold job, we're going to have our decontamination charge, our pre-test, post-test, our, visqueen and zippers. You can definitely expedite the ability to add these line items in with the macro. And then you do also have this ability in the project scope to where I can actually see which cost sheet I'm going to be using. So if you do have a specific cost sheet for cash pay clients versus insurance versus maybe a bid proposal that you have with a certain municipality, you can choose between which price sheet you want to use. So now that we've done this in the scoping section and our general items, I can now come right back up here to area, and then we can go into the different rooms.
Hey, and
So,
Paul,
yep,
right before you leave back under the project tab right there, under the scope, maybe show them that note feature as well that's right next to those macros to where you
correct.
can actually put in notes, which is powerful as well.
So one thing we have in here is you guys are probably used to the notes in the room section. We do also have project notes. So if this is something I want to come in and say, I need to make sure to add another dumpster for this job. I can add any of these notes in, but then I can also come in and tag this to the scoping section. One new feature we did add, and this is on both the rooms now and the projects, is if this is a note that I want to be externally visible to anyone with a read-only file, I can turn off if I don't want them to see it, or if I don't want this to be in our final report, you can turn this on or off. That way, only this communication can be seen by your team, or if you want to share this with read-only files or with the final reports, you can toggle those on or off and hit save. So this will be saved right here in the notes, but since I tagged this to the scoping section, you'll notice this little icon right here. You'll be able to click that and see any notes that are getting tagged to it. This is a great way. You can use the scoping tool live in the field, but if you are a kind of person that likes to sit down at a desk and maybe do the scope later, you can use the voice detect feature on your phone, type any kind of notes you need into, tag it to the scope. So when you do sit down at your desk, computer, iPad, maybe after the fact, you can always come back in, see any of the notes you might have, and then you can go in and fill these items out on the back end, or you can do it live. But it's a great way to be able to track any of that information so that you can enter this information however you please. So from here, now we're going to dive into the rooms. So we have our project scope, and then now we're in our individual rooms. I'm going to show you this one right here. So this is one where I went in and actually showed, okay, we need to detach some baseboards, do some drywall, things of that nature. You can see how when you can add these directly in and see all the different dimensions. But now I want to show you how to actually do it. So we're going to go into a different room here. Let's see which ones I have empty. Well, we'll just go ahead and delete all these. And we're actually going to do this live time. So this is where I can always choose which price sheet do I want to use on this one. So even if you have multiple price sheets you want to use, or you can now set which one is your default. So right now, this one is going to the general. I can come in, again, add any individual items, or I can add in these macros. So this is where we're going to come in. We're going to do a mold general conditions. Actually, we're going to go ahead and do this as a baseboards and ceilings. So this is where we have our removes wet ceiling tile, baseboard detached, tear out drywall, things of that nature. One thing you can do is in your macro, now that I have these pulled up on the side, if I don't need one of these line items, I can just simply unclick those and it won't be adding those in. So I only want to use these 3 of the 5. I simply check which ones I want, hit add scope, and then it adds these items directly into the project. So from here, now that I've added these in, I can just simply hit edit on the baseboards and I can put this information in. If you're using our scanning tool, here's a great cheat code. You'll notice these little icons right here on the side. If I want to come in and say, click on this, this now pulls up my dimensions directly from our scan. So if I want to come through and say I'm doing it on the square footage of the floor, individual walls, you can now pick and choose which wall you want to put that into. Or I can even come into our calculator here, and if I want to add a percent to it, if I want to subtract a percent, multiply it. So for instance, let's just say I'm going to be doing wall one. I can always come in, add anything to it. So I can even double this one. So I can even hit the double here. You can see now it does our current value of it's doubled. I can quickly revert back to our original. So this is great to where if I know I'm doing a 2-foot flood cut on drywall, I can come in, pick the wall length, times it by 2, times it by 3, whatever you need to be able to put that in. But I'll show you a quick way to do that as well. So on this one, let's just say we're going to do this on wall 1. I can simply save that now. You can see that 11.67 linear feet directly in there. And then this tear out drywall for disposal. I can simply hit edit. Couple ways you can do this. I can enter this for the square footage, where I can simply come in and say, I want this to be on the square footage of the walls or floors. Or I can come in here and see the length and the width. Now I can manually come in and type this in, or this is where I can come in and say, great, wall one, we're going to do the length and then the width or the height of this one. I can do that for the entire wall. Or if I'm doing this one, I can always just come in and say, here's the length times 4. So completely up to you. You can kind of control that as well to see what kind of measurements you want to put in here. You can use these different calculators as well to be able to put this information in. So I can come in, say height, if I want to do the whole wall, and you can now see it calculates that square footage. Or I can just simply come in here and say for 4 for a flood cut and hit save. And you can see it gives us that 68.68 square feet of removal.
Hey, Paul, question that came up. If they're doing the inputs manually, like the dimensions manually, do those dimensions show up there as well, or is it just with our scanning feature?
Nope, you can do them manually as well. So tear out this wet insulation. I can just simply come in and say this is 11.67 by 4. So you
Will
can
those,
manually do these as well.
yeah, but will the measurements be there if they entered them in manually when they were creating a room?
Yes, they will. So it takes any of those
Perfect.
measurements as far as the floors, walls, anything that you put in when setting up those rooms, you'll be able to pull those from there as well. So you'll be able to put all those information in there and then be able to add all those up and then be able to put that information in. So you can see any in here. So this is basically that input that we put when setting up this room. So you can see in here, we said this is 127 square feet, 100% is affected, which just comes from the room setup. And then any of the affected walls, you'll see here, right here on the side, and then the total cubic footage down here at the bottom as well. So the
Hey,
cubic
Paul, I think
footage is
what
great.
I think Weston asked, can you do more than one wall? Is that where you'd use the times two, or would you just, what would you do there?
So for the individual wall, this is probably part of our update that we're working on. So that is where we would want to come in here and say, so if we're going to be doing square footage of the wall, let's see. So let's say we're going to do the baseboards or the vest wall. We can always hit edit. So I believe it has it to where it just does the one wall length at a time. Let's see. There's a way to do it. So if I was going to do the entire floor, because I don't think we have the perimeter floor calculations yet. Technically, we could do the square footage of the room. Square footage. We don't have the perimeter floor yet, Weston. So that's on our dev list to get that added in. So that way you can do either a perimeter floor times 4 or multiple walls in there. Currently, right now, it does have just the individual walls, but That is on my list, and we'll get that updated for you. So now that we've added these in, you can now see, okay, here's all our different walls in here. We've put some of this information in. This is where you can actually come in if you want to add scopes or macros. But one other feature we have is we set up these macros in the admin setting. Let's say you're on a project right now and you're like, okay, I just built out all these rooms and I want to save this as a macro. You have the ability with these little tabs on the side to where if I hit select all, you'll notice down here at the bottom, this little bar that comes up. This gives you the ability to where if I need to transfer these into a different room, like let's say they were put in the wrong place, I can always transfer these, or I can simply now hit create macro where I can name it, describe it. So if this is something I want to repeat in multiple rooms, or maybe want to create this is a great combination I want to use as a macro, you can now do it in live time versus having to go back out to the admin to set this up. So while you're out in the field, I can simply select this. We'll call this a demo, so drywall demo macro. I can now hit save. And then now in our macro list, you will now see a brand new one that we just went in and created. Let's see where it is. There it is. So now you can see our drywall demo macro to be able to simply create those quickly without having to sit down, go through the admin tab. So if you do have a project that you have some line items you like, simply go through, create that, and then now any room going forward, any time going forward, you can simply one click, add these items in, and then be able to move on. So from here, this is using this as more of a scoping tool. If you wanted to use this as a pricing tool, what we can do is I'll actually come up here in the settings and actually turn on this show scope pricing. I'll apply this to all rooms and levels. Now you'll notice a little bit of a change. So in these line items, you'll now notice up at the top these scoping totals. Same thing in the project as well. If I come up here, you'll now notice the scoping totals. So anywhere that you have a default price, it will automatically add that default price in. If you do not have a price on it, you can always just come simply here to edit, and then you can always add whatever cost you need into. So if I want to charge $1 per suit, simply hit save. Now you'll see here we had 8 of those suits at a $1 each for $8. And then I can simply come in, hit edit, and put this in. We'll just call this 50 cents for the booties. And then it will add that in and actually calculate that for you. So you can see all your scope totals here. And then in the rooms, this is going to be the exact same thing. I can come into the scope and actually see. So on these items, I did not have a price set for them. You can do this manually when you're in the field, but again, if you set your price list and put all the line items in, I highly recommend trying to upload it with our Excel spreadsheet. Makes it very quick and efficient to do. But you can simply come in here, say, great, we're going to charge $2 to detach baseboards. For drywall removal, we're going to go ahead and hit, as internet goes out on me, I can simply come in, hit edit, modify this price as needed to where we will do this, and we'll say it's $5. This guy here, we'll call this 10. You guys are going to like my pricing on this one. Go $5 here. And then tear out for disposal, we'll say this is $7. So it gives you the ability to kind of modify any of that pricing you might need while on a job. Or if you don't have that pricing already added in, can simply put it in. Now you can see right here at the top the total scope for this room. Now, one question you might ask is you're like, this is great, but now I have costs in the project. Now I have costs in the rooms. How do I know what the total is? This is where you can come directly up to the top. So if you're in the mobile app, you'll see the 3 dots for our menu bar. If I come down here to view totals, this is where we can see our breakdown for equipment, contents, and then scope. The scope shows both the office, the different rooms, and then also our default price in here for the project scope, and then totals it all right down here at the bottom. So it'll show which items do have a price on it, which ones don't. You can see all those different items directly in here in kind of one clean page view. Now, this is where if the price is even turned off, which I'll even show you what that looks like, this does give you that ability to where if the pricing is shut off, I can still come in here to the totals page and it just shows all those different items in here as well. So it gives you that ability to see all that information on there, be able to come in, have all that information. It just takes the pricing component out. So if it's only, I only need to do this to send to a remote estimator or even put this together as like orders for my crews, you can always build this out, be able to run a report, share it as a PDF to someone and say, great, here's what I need you to go do in the office, the baby's room, and bedroom one. So you can almost use this as change orders or work orders for your guys as well. Now that we've added in some of our pricing and scope, I'll show you how these run in the reports. Now, if we do take a full report here, which I'll just do this as a full project report, you'll be able to see when this comes out, since we have the pricing turned off in here, you'll be able to see in here, I can come right here to project scope, and you can actually see the scoping feature on here. It does have the pricing items turned off with just the total. Now, if you don't, there's a couple things in here. If you do have a cost sheet that has pricing, if you turn off the price items, it will show any totals for the items that have in their price sheet. So if you do want one that has $0 whatsoever on it, I would have a separate price sheet or your default one as 0 and it won't show any costs. If there are any costs on that price sheet, it won't allow your technicians or whoever is doing it to see those pricing, but it will be on the final report. So this is a great way to run that. Or if I turn that pricing back on, which I'm already working on a couple ideas to be able to give you a quick toggle for pricing on and off in the reporting feature. So that is already something we're working on. If I turn the pricing on and come to these reports, I'll go ahead and generate a general one as well. This gives you the ability to see your full report in here. And then also in the project scope, it's going to have all of the different rooms in the general sections with that pricing on there and showing that total. Now, if this is something that you want to send to an adjuster showing the pricing, you'll want to have the pricing turned on. This is something that you want to give to a homeowner where you don't want to show them the per line item price, but just the total. Make sure that the pricing is turned off in the settings, and then it will only show the total right here in this report. We are already working on the feature. Yes, we can do it. We agree it's too many clicks, so we're already working on some ways to fix that as well. And then in the report, so the project scope shows everything in one tab. We do also have the ability that within the rooms, I can simply come in and click scope and it will show you that breakdown of everything that happened in just that room. So it does have everything at the top and then all those different rooms, again, broken down with the equipment, the readings, everything else directly in your report. Now, some of you guys are thinking, okay, great. What if I want to use this tool for just scoping? I don't want my readings. I don't need photos, things of that nature. This comes back into our report templates. This is where I can come in here, generate a template for just scope items only, come in, generate this report, and you'll see this will have just the scope items. So this is literally just that scoping totals page. So you can see it right in here. It's got the prices sheets. It doesn't have a logo, header, anything on there, just the scoping items. Now, because our reports are fully customizable, if I did want to come in here and say, well, I want the scope, but maybe I want our logo on there. Again, you can fully customize any of these and save them as a template so that now when I generate this report, I can have it as great. It's got our information on here. It's got our logo, front of the structure, and then just our just the scope items in here. So completely up to you on how you want to generate that. We can help you set this up so it allows you to have, if you just want the items, if you just want the scoping items on here, Or you can run it with all your equipment, your photos, your readings, your scans. You can fully customize that. I know some people want just like an invoice view, which is kind of what I created here, and I can share this out to everyone as well. So if this is just a scope items only, which is kind of like our default view you saw in the totals, basically the only thing that's selected is just the project scope and just the room scope. Go in here, you can choose the image quality, and then basically you can come up, select those items, save it as a template. So then anytime you want just that simple scoping items, one click, generate, and now we are good to go. Now, I know Weston's got this question and we've kind of figured it out on the back end. Again, we are working on this. If I do want to have just the totals on that report, it does not have that option on here yet. We are going to have that here soon. If I come back in here to the menu settings and just turn off scope pricing, apply it to all rooms and levels and hit save. If I come back into our reports and run our scope items only and generate this report, this is where you can run that report where it lists the line items out and gives a total, but will not have the individual line item pricing on it. So this is a great one to give to homeowners or, someone who just wants to see this information. We do have that ability in here, but in true Clean Claims fashion, we both agree one too many clicks. So we are going to make that simpler and give you an option to turn that on and off in the reports. So this is hopefully this was informative, a little bit of a different way to use this. We do know some clients like to use Clean Claims and have them use the notes to put this information in. It's completely up to you. The macros are really the big power to this. The more macros you set up, the easier it is for your team to just simply come out to the job, select which of these items. So if this is mold conditions or a mold item, like these are the ones I just uploaded, I can simply click on it, choose which item I want. So I can either check all, check, turn them all off, and then say, wait, great, I want to do this one and this one. Add those scoping items in. Be able to come in here real quick. I can always add in any information manually, or I can use any of our tools here for the dimensions to be able to put this in. Perimeter floor is one that I will get added in as well here shortly, but I can always say total for the square foot, or I can even come in and say wall one, add any notes to this here, and simply save that line item with that dimension in there to get a good accounting of what actually happened on the job, or if you're sending this to a sub trade to show what needs to be done. We do also give that ability if you turn the pricing on to be able to go through, create an invoice right here on site. The good news is too, if you are using this for a invoicing tool, Clean Claims does work offline. Make sure you have it in airplane mode or inside the project. It will allow you to go through, use the scoping items, the LiDAR tool, all that involved to be able to generate this right there on site. So I know we threw a lot at you guys right there. If you have any questions, I know Corey posted it earlier in the chat. Feel free to jump into any of schedule a time with us. We're happy to go into more depth with you guys, help you get any of these items uploaded in. This is definitely something that, especially for those out-of-pocket jobs or maybe jobs that are not going through Xactimate or through a specific carrier, this gives you the ability to set your price and actually generate that right there on site. Or if you just want to use this to say, hey, maybe this is going to be a order I give to my sub trades or give to my techs to say, what are we going to do on the job? You can actually go through, build this out, create whatever kind of report you would like, or you can give them access to it directly in Clean Claims because we don't charge per users and have a temp user log in and have those guys be able to dive in, see what items are listed out for the scope and be able to go out and get everything done out in the field. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and send this recording over to you guys. If you have any questions, we'll stay on for the next couple minutes. You can throw them in the chat there, but we really appreciate you guys diving on. We will get this uploaded into our training tab as well. If you guys do have any questions, you can always click on our training tab at the top. This will pull you to our help center. You can click on knowledge base. And from here, my suggestion, we are working on this, is about to get blown up. You can always come right here to this Clean Claims version 3 step-by-step guide. This does have everything that we're covering here, and we do have some how to create scope sheets, how to do custom line items and edit macros. These are all step-by-step guides to help walk you through everything we went through. We are going to be creating some training videos for this as well. So we're going to have a lot more for you and your team coming out shortly. We will keep you updated, and we appreciate you guys jumping on today.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Perfect.